Representative Jasmine Crockett just unleashed one of the most explosive attacks on the Supreme Court we've seen in recent memory. In a speech that's igniting fierce reactions nationwide, Crockett accused the nation's highest court of being racist, immoral, and lacking basic ethics. She called for expanding the court, imposing term limits, and argued that recent decisions are part of a larger effort to undermine minority representation and cement political power for decades. Her remarks have already sparked outrage among conservatives and applause from progressives, with many calling this a defining moment in the battle over the future of the Supreme Court. But did Jasmine Crockett expose a real problem within America's judicial system, or did she cross a line by attacking the court itself? Before we break down every major moment from her fiery speech, let us know where you stand in the comments below. Do you agree with Crockett's criticism of the Supreme Court, or do you think she's completely wrong? We want to hear your perspective. And if you enjoy in-depth political coverage, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications because you won't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's get into it.
Because that's exactly who this court is. This court is racist, this court is immoral, and this court lacks any semblance of ethics. The fact that this court just on last night decided that they want to go after yet another Alabama seat, and then they decided to throw out the votes of the voters in Louisiana because they decided that they wanted to go after yet another black seat in Louisiana. The fact that Virginia decided to stand up and fight back, and it was this same Supreme Court that decided forget the will of the people and the fact that they voted, we're going to throw that out. This isn't what democracy is supposed to be. So let me be clear about a couple of things. Number one, the court absolutely needs to be expanded because it's been expanded in the past. And yes, it makes sense. If we have 13 circuit courts, then we should have 13 judges.
After taking the floor, Jasmine Crockett quickly turned her attention to what she believes is a growing threat to minority representation across America. The Texas Congresswoman pointed to redistricting battles in states like Texas, Georgia, Alabama, and Louisiana, arguing that minority-majority districts are being targeted in ways that could weaken the political influence of black voters and other minority communities. According to Crockett, these efforts are not isolated incidents. She claimed they are part of a broader strategy designed to lock in political power for years to come. As she built her argument, Crockett referenced lawmakers representing heavily minority districts and argued that voters should be able to choose representatives who reflect their interests without political interference. Then came the moment that immediately grabbed national attention. Crockett directly accused the Supreme Court of helping enable these outcomes. In a stunning rebuke, she declared that the court is racist, immoral, and lacks ethical standards. The comments instantly ignited controversy. Supporters argued she was voicing frustrations shared by many Americans concerned about voting rights and representation. Critics, meanwhile, accused her of attacking the legitimacy of the nation's highest court. Either way, Crockett's remarks ensured that this would become one of the most talked-about political speeches of the week. What do you think? Did Jasmine Crockett raise legitimate concerns about voting rights and representation, or did she go too far with her criticism of the Supreme Court? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you're enjoying this breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe for more political coverage.
It's hard to imagine how you can argue with a straight face that this is what we should be doing in this moment or ever. You see, because this is the same time as you heard an emotional Representative Cohen. Now, Representative Cohen is a white man, but in Memphis, Tennessee, the district that he represents, it is a majority black district, and black folk decided that he should be in Congress and be their voice. When you look at what they are proposing to do in Georgia, where it's my understanding that they plan to go after Lucy McBath's seat yet again, when you look at the type of seat that Hank Johnson currently sits in, it is also a VRA district. When you look at the state that they started in, Texas, they decided to go after majority-minority districts to the extent that two black incumbents down in Houston just went head-to-head for a seat in which only one would survive. We know that there are currently debates taking place because Debbie Wasserman Schultz is now wanting to run in one of the few VRA districts that is left so that black people can have representation. You see, the reason that y'all want to do this right now isn't because you're afraid that we are after a power grab. It's because you want to lock in this racist agenda for decades to come. Because that's exactly who this court is. This court is racist, this court is immoral, and this court lacks any semblance of ethics. The fact that this court just on last night decided that they want to go after yet another Alabama seat, and then they decided to throw out the votes of the voters in Louisiana because they decided that they wanted to go after yet another black seat in Louisiana. The fact that Virginia decided to stand up and fight back, and it was this same Supreme Court that decided, forget the will of the people and the fact that they voted, we're going to throw that out. This isn't what democracy is supposed to be. So let me be clear about a couple of things. Number one, the court absolutely needs to be expanded because it's been expanded in the past. And yes, it makes sense. If we have 13 circuit courts, that we should have 13 judges. But let's just pretend that the size of America was the same. Let's pretend that the complexity of the cases was the same as it was when we originally got the 9. Let's pretend all those things. I would still argue that it is time to not only expand the court, to introduce some form of ethics and to put term limits on, because you have bad actors like Mitch McConnell. This court was packed by the Republicans, and that is the reason you don't want it unpacked. You see, as a trained attorney, I don't understand how the very same court could say that in the state of Texas, 4 days before we were to have the end of filing, it is too close to the end of filing, and so therefore we've got to go ahead and go forward with these intentionally discriminatory maps. And these are the words and the characterization of a Trump-appointed justice. It's got to be bad when a Trump-appointed justice decides that something is racist and is willing to call a thing and put it into writing. But they did that. They didn't just say it. They laid it out in an opinion that was more than 100 pages long. But this very same court will decide that after votes have been cast to throw those votes out. The reason that we need to do something about this court is because this court has decided that it will bend to the will of a wannabe king. We have never in the history of this country needed a court to say that absolute immunity should be given to a president, because historically we don't actually keep criminals in the presidency. We know that even after he had been found guilty by a jury of his peers, y'all went out and y'all wanted to say, yes, this is our guy. The same way that right now in the state of Texas, for the Texas Senate race, I'm sure all of y'all will line up behind that criminal as well. So I don't want to hear about law and order. I don't want to hear about this is the right thing to do. Just be honest about what it is, because y'all are basically saying that we're stupid. You're playing in our faces. We know that this is about locking in this agenda because you will never do right by the people. The reason that we have elections is because the people are supposed to decide whether or not your policies are actually working for them. But because you have killed our economy, because we are sitting in the midst of an unconstitutional, unlawful war, because we have a president that is lining his pockets and the pockets of his friends and his families in violation of the Emoluments Clause and so many other laws. Y'all want to lock in absolute power by any means necessary. And the last thing that I'll say is I got to respect your gangster, because that's exactly how y'all are acting, like real gangsters. Y'all are mobbing out. And that's one reason that the Democrats are struggling right now, because they have always tried to play by the rules. I am here to say that I applaud the people of Virginia. I am here to say that I applaud the people of California. I am here to say that we need to meet fire with fire and fight y'all tooth and nail.
Crockett didn't stop at criticizing court decisions. She argued that the Supreme Court itself needs major reforms. Pointing to the existence of 13 federal circuit courts, she said it makes sense for the Supreme Court to expand beyond its current 9 justices. She noted that Congress has changed the size of the court before and argued that doing so again would not be unprecedented. The Congresswoman also pushed for term limits and stricter ethics rules for justices. According to Crockett, lifetime appointments give too much power to individuals who can shape American law for decades without meaningful accountability. She further argued that Republicans spent years strategically building the court's current conservative majority and accused former Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell of playing a central role in that effort. For Crockett, the issue goes beyond individual rulings. She believes the court has become increasingly political and no longer reflects the interests of many Americans. Republicans strongly disagree, arguing that the justices were lawfully nominated and confirmed under the Constitution. But Crockett's speech highlighted just how divided the country has become over the role and future of the Supreme Court. Should the Supreme Court be expanded? Should justices face term limits and stricter ethics requirements? Let us know where you stand. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel because we're following every major development in Washington. The most explosive section of Crockett's speech came when she shifted her focus to President Donald Trump and the issue of presidential immunity. She criticized the Supreme Court's immunity ruling, arguing that it grants too much protection to presidents and risks placing them above accountability. Crockett claimed the court has shown a willingness to bend toward what she described as a dangerous concentration of executive power, linking that concern directly to Trump. Her criticism quickly expanded beyond the court itself and toward the broader Republican Party. According to Crockett, Republicans are working aggressively to secure long-term political power, while Democrats have often been too willing to rely on traditional norms and institutions. That's when she delivered one of the most memorable lines of the speech. "I've got to respect your gangster." Using the phrase as a political metaphor, Crockett argued that Republicans have been disciplined and relentless in pursuing their goals, while Democrats must become more willing to fight back. Her final message was clear. Democrats need to organize, push harder, and challenge policies they oppose with the same intensity they see from their political opponents. Whether people agree with her or not, Crockett's speech has reignited major debates about voting rights, judicial reform, presidential power, and the future of American democracy. Was Jasmine Crockett speaking truth to power, or was this an unfair attack on the Supreme Court and Republicans? Share your opinion below. We read every comment. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the biggest political stories as they unfold.